welcome to Debt Money platform. This will be a training video on how to use the dashboard. Again, thank you for signing up and being here. The probably the most foundational thing that any trader who survives in these markets knows is the most foundational thing is having discipline. Whatever your strategy may be, there are some core concepts across all the strategies that we try and teach here. But the most important skill for any trader is having self-discipline. And discipline is being able to separate your emotions from your money, your trades, treating this like a business, because at the end of the day, this is a business. You know, you even have to account for the risks that you take. The amount of risk that you take on each trade is think of it as a business expense. If you're running a business, you got to pay electricity, you got to pay rent, you got to keep the lights on, you got to keep the internet on, things like that. You got to buy supplies. Risk should not be thought of as this painful thing that, oh my God, I lost money, but risk should be thought of as a business expense. And when you change your mindset, something as simple as changing your mindset that losing on the markets is not necessarily that you are losing money, but that it is a business expense, you'll also start to understand and be calmer. So you'll have that separation of emotions. And, you know, from there, discipline is having rules and sticking to them, having a strategy and sticking to that strategy. The most important thing in discipline is having an entry and an exit. And, we like to go through this platform and teach a lot of these things. So without further ado, we'll get started. Once you sign up through WAP, you're going to sign in with your WAP account inside the dashboard. And once you're signed in, you're going to get a daily message for the first 7 days, giving you tips and practice. And after that, there's random tips that's presented at the top of the page every day. When you first sign up, it's going to pop up telling you that you should connect. You'll have a button to click connect. As my account is already connected, um, connecting means you're going to use the SnapTrade API to pull in your broker account's information. This is a one-way read-only sync, and maybe in the future, if we change things up, well, we can do two-way reading and posting trades, but that is not our market. Um, we're only looking to pull your trades so that way you can debrief on each of your trades and be able to organize and see all of your accounts in one place. Like me personally, I've got long-term accounts and I've got day trading accounts, and also trade some futures. Now, once your accounts are connected, you can do a quick tour here, and I'll begin the tour. So you're going to see on the first page here your daily prep. Um, the biggest thing that we harp on, obviously, is about discipline. So we have a discipline radar based off of 7 rules. This is the heart of the entire app. This is how we score how well you follow the rules. And now that your accounts are synced up, it's going to update from your real trades. And we'll go into more detail how that works. Um, I'll go into more detail after the quick run, but each of these tabs, so you have a market pulse. This is where your daily market context is. You've got news to kind of see what's going on. We have a daily intel brief that we send out at 6:30 market time every weekday on days when markets are open. This is your portfolio tab. This is where all of your accounts are going to sync in. This is a journal. This is where you're going to take notes, answer some debrief questions about each and every trade that you take. Honest questions or honest answers for these questions. The only person you are competing against is yourself. And There are some things that we can't program out and account for, and then there's others that we're expecting you as a trader to be honest with yourself. And this is where the self discipline and the training of discipline is going to come in. Your notes. This is where you're going to write down the notes that you have, and you can get AI feedback based off of the trading platform, the rules, market conditions for your notes and for the debrief answers that you give in your journal. On the leaderboard, you have the option to opt in to share your score with others and see, kind of compete and see who's doing the best. We also have a mentor tab. We'll get into that later. There is an Ask the Coach. This is where you can actually have a conversation with the AI and understand how your accounts and trades are looking. Here we have a video guide to using the Discord. Here's going to be the walkthrough videos for that you're literally watching right now if you ever want to come back and find it again. Here you're going to find all the rules as part of the discipline framework. You can even add a few of your own. This is the Academy. Now, if you've seen any other trading platforms, academies, stuff like that, there may be some brief information, a couple of questions, but if you're going to pay to have somebody show you and teach you different strategies and whatnot, you're expecting to get your money's worth. So there's 18 different chapters to go through. There's about 10 different questions per chapter, and at the end of it, there's a good there's a few dozen questions you got to answer to go through for the final quiz. It's about 30 questions and really challenge your knowledge and get you thinking. Also, settings. Now, you have the ability to install this if you're on a computer using Edge or Chrome. You can install it as an app. And once it's installed as an app, you can enable notifications and get push notifications. Same thing on your phone. If you're using Edge, Safari, Chrome, you can save it to your desktop or your home screen on your phone and then open it up, sign in, and then you can enable notifications. So you can get push notification for time changes, when the daily brief gets pushed, things like that. Again, just like I said, the alerts. This is to show the turn on and off the alerts. And with that, let's go through each of the pages real quick. So your daily prep right here, every day you're going to get a tip at the top. You're going to find your skill level. Now, there's skill and discipline. Your skill level is just that. It's based off of your experience level, beginner, novice, intermediate, expert, depending on how many trades you have and overall what your discipline score is going to give you whether or not you can take 0.5, 1%, so forth for your for how much your risk sizing is going to be, and we'll get into that here in a second. Discipline radar, it's got 7 metrics that we measure off of. Today's losses. This is like a quick little whiteboard, count board. If you're day trading, this is useful in a sense of like you take a quick trade, you exit for a loss, you hit your loss. If you do it again and get a second loss, you know, the system tries to look out for you and says, you've taken 2 losses today, step away, come back tomorrow. You've hit a tilt zone. If you got 2 losses, maybe your head's not straight, maybe your calculations are off. You know, smart thing is step away, reassess, come back later, preferably tomorrow, the following day. And the other way is the same too. You could have a couple of wins, stay disciplined, close the trade, go enjoy your day. Now, if your rules are that you're more comfortable taking more losses, taking more wins, that's on you. This cannot stop you from taking trades. This is more of a visual guard to get your attention and let you know that, hey, you've gone pretty too far, time to take a break. Next up is the market session clock. Depending on whether we're in overnight, we're in pre-market, we're regular hours, after hours, so forth. Um, this is where you'll see, what their current market time is. Over here on the last box here is your prep status. Now, part of your discipline score is being prepped every day. And what that means is you go through your checklist and you say, have I checked the drawdown tier? Okay. Have I marked off my levels on the stocks that I'm watching today? Have I marked previous day high, previous day low, and the previous day close, things like that, et cetera, et cetera. And also too, we do have a indicator for trading view for those who are interested, which marks out these levels for you. Next up is identifying what the NTZ no trade zone for each ticker is. As you go through checking each of these, there's also a link that takes you to what rule, what lesson this falls under. So if you forget, you know, what you're doing for that one, you can go to the lesson and check it out and refresh yourself, learn more. But once you have checked everything off, you'll find that you are now ready to trade. On the other side over here, this is a pre-session mindset, not necessarily, it's just a refresher. Yesterday is gone. Whatever losses you had yesterday, they don't carry today. Whatever you won yesterday doesn't carry today either. Your only goal each and every single day is to follow the rules. Taking no trade is better than taking a bad trade. And if I hit two losses, I stop, no exceptions. And the level doesn't care about my bias. I wait for confirmation. So once you check off everything, you now move into a risk calculator. And once you've synced your accounts, connected your accounts, you can actually see each one of your accounts. And from here, you can get a risk assessment, balances. You can see what your balance is. You get drawdown is what the current amount, the account is based off of where it was at. A lot of this is fake data, so have fun. Fake data as in, needed to load something in for displaying. Now, we'll get into what this drawdown and tier and so forth means, but when you first sign in, the first page is your daily prep. Like this is your main page that you're going to be spending most of your time in. And so you need a risk calculator, or you get a risk calculator telling you, based off of my individual cash account on Webull, I have roughly $15,000 in here. Let's say that the stop level that I want to take on this particular option, and you'll see up here, this calculator can be options, futures, or stock. If we're doing options trading, and I want to see my stop loss, let's say the entry, my premium entry right here. Now, if you're on a cell phone, you can actually tap and hold and drag this and change the price. But let's say that my max loss for here is calculated at $142. Or I mean, $149.64. It's based off of what my drawdown level is. Because I'm in preservation tier, that means I'm at a 1%. If I have on the other page, I'll show it when I get there. Your daily prep page is important because you need to know what you can enter in at, how many contracts you can take for that amount. Let's say if I'm only willing to lose $150 and the premium on that stock for today, let's say it's $2, or I can just click and hit 2, enter. Let's say my stop loss is going to be $1.80, right? Or maybe it's a little bit more. My stop loss is $1.50. So I got 25% stop loss. But I've identified a take profit level above that's roughly $5. Well, now that I've gone, by the way, this GTH popping up just now is just because we've now entered a different market time that started at 7:30. Um, if my exit's at 480, well, my maximum loss at this point for two contracts is $100. So let's see, if I went 100% profit, and let's see, this actually dropped to $1.10. My stop loss at 25% is 0.83. To only lose $137, which is below my max risk, with a 20 to stay just within the 25% stop loss, I could take 5 contracts to only risk $137. This is helpful because if I know I'm entering at 50 cents. Let's say it's a SPY contract for today. And I enter at 50 cents. My stop loss is 38 cents. I could take 11 contracts because at 11 contracts, I'm within my $150 stop loss at $137.50 by using a 25% stop loss. Target being $1, which is 100%. 100% profit, meaning I've made 50 cents back for spending 50 cents. And that means that my maximum gain or my profit on that is $550. Also on this screen here, you'll have your open positions below. You'll also have down here a search. You can look up, you can take a quick look on, let's say, Broadcom and hit search. It's fetching the data and you'll find, a quick load. Here's the high of day yesterday. Here's the previous day high. Currently high of day. The current price is 364. Previous day's close. The no trade zone width. Previous day close. It's up 0.43%. Low of day and then previous day low. Now we'll see what is the current price to the previous day's high, because current price is 364. Previous day's high is 373. So you're going to see that we're 2.71% or a spread of $9.88 versus the previous day close, things like that. Now, down here, based off of the break and retest strategy, which is a very common strategy, it's the one we teach in this system, you'll find that almost all the major institutions use what's called the break and retest strategy. There are plenty of other strategies out there to follow. Our biggest one that we use and teach is break and retest. And the reason for that is if the institutions control 80% of the money, then your best bet is to do what the institutions are doing. The other 20 to 25%, depending on what markets you're looking at, are retail traders, people like me and you. The institutions control the other 80%. Well, if 80% of the money is using break and retest, then the easiest and quickest thing to get into is a break and retest. We also are very adamant about following mega cap stocks, companies that are worth billions of dollars or more, because you'll have more reliable data to follow. You're more than welcome to follow penny stocks, but that is dangerous territory. It is unknown territory. You have no reliable data. And when it comes to penny stocks, and ironically enough, a stock that is worth $10 or less is considered a penny stock. Um, Also, another fun fact for penny stocks is that they're worth such little that somebody with $50 million could come along and pump the price up. Everyone sees it moving up because they're using scanners, and retailers get eaten alive by companies like these penny stocks, because they'll see the movement, make it pop up on their scanner, and they go, okay, well, that looks really good, so I'm going to buy into it, only to get rug pulled by that same guy with $50 million in it. He sells a huge portion and the stock price comes plummeting down. um Not really going to go into too much on that. That's more for a lesson for later, but just kind of putting that out there, why we stick with the mega caps. There's way more reliable data, and it's just smarter business practice to stick with what you have knowledge on, which is plenty of data on bigger companies, because you have broader people, wider group of people trading into that stock. Also in here, you'll get some information, news specific to Broadcom here. Down below is a quick trading view chart for Broadcom. You can switch the view here and see some data. Um, it is delayed in here by, I believe it's 15 minutes. Rely on your own trading view subscription, as well as your own brokerage for actual live data, but this is really good for, analyzing and understanding where this stock could potentially go, where its current levels are at and stuff like that. And we'll get into that more in the academy and so forth. Now, next up is Market Pulse. Currently, markets are technically closed. We are in pre-market session. Um, the sentiment of the entire trading world is risk off, is defensive. Risk off means the institutions, the guys with the big pockets, are saying we're going to sell off the market and hold our money in cash. The next FOMC meeting is in 28 days on September 16th. The reason why this is important, as you'll find over time, is that FOMC can make or break the markets, drop them or pump them or dump them very quickly. The VIX is the volatility index, and you'll find that the lower this number, the more comfortable and complacent people are in trading in the markets. We also have the dollar index here. As you learn these things, get more comfortable with it, you'll understand them more. Here are ETFs for each of the industries that the markets trade on. Again, the knowledge and understanding of these will come with time. We consider this change versus the change of this submarket versus the SPY. So, for example, energy is up compared to the SPY as a whole, healthcare, consumer staples, but things like communication services, consumer discretionary is down, utilities, so forth. Next up is a calendar of upcoming events. You can filter for today's events only, this week, or this month. Or again, think all gives you the next 3 months, and it's a rolling 3 months. Now, you'll find as you scroll through and look at this, gold lettering is earnings. The dots on the side is the amount of impact that event will have on market. If it's red, it's going to have a high impact. Like if core PCE price index month over month comes back high, it could have an impact of dropping markets, so forth. Earnings. I'm a big fan of NVIDIA. Days leading up to NVIDIA earnings are usually pretty good pump dates. Usually, don't quote me on that. But, with all things, there's always outliers. So we pull the earnings list for the entire NASDAQ. We are NASDAQ technology focus, mega caps, because it's where the quote safer money is getting with the large caps. Next up is news. This is where you're going to find the daily intel briefing Monday through Fridays at 6:30 market time every day. There's a lot of good information here to learn and get to know. It's going to be a lot overwhelming first few days until it starts making sense. Down below is going to be market news. The most recent 50 stories are listed here. You can click each one, read, and follow up on it. Next up is your portfolio. You're going to find that you can sync your accounts. You can set a goal for each account. You'll find your skill level. This is your earned risk ceiling. Rises with demonstrated discipline, falls after a bad stretch. You always trade the lower of skill cap and drawdown tier. Your average debrief. How many trades did you take? And actually take notes and answer questions and debrief yourself. The more you debrief, the more it'll become subconscious and the better it'll become at making sure that you are, um, starting to do this stuff just subconsciously. But the only way to get better at it is by building the habits and getting in the habit of doing it at the end of each trade. Your prep discipline. This is again back on a daily prep. Did you go through and do your daily checklist? 100% on 6 of 6 days here. Then below, you'll have your accounts that are all synced up. You'll find here your risk tier system is explained. Now, each one of your accounts is going to have a color code, whether it's green, it's supposed to be orange, yellow, and red. And it's based off of how far down from a maximum that account has been, getting back down to where it's currently sitting. So an account that is green means that you've only drawn down 10% from its maximum height. 10 to 20% gives you 2%. And what that means is if you're within 10% of your maximum height of your account at peak or near peak performance, your risk sizing that you're going to take on trades will be around 2.5%. If your trades are getting reckless or you're not hitting a good stride and you're losing money and you get 10 to 20% below your peak, like let's say you put $10,000 in the account, but all of a sudden you get down to $9,500, you'll sit at a 2.5% risk per trade, um, or per day. And then but if your account drops down to like 10 to 20% below that, meaning 10,000 goes down, if you're between $8,000 and $9,000, then you're only going to be allowed to risk 2%. Same thing if you get to 20 and 30, you go to 1.5, and anything below 30, you only risk 1%. Meaning at $10,000, 2.5% risk means you're only allowed to risk losing $250 for the day, roughly 250. Again, this is about learning discipline and getting into the habits. If you consistently are losing, let's say you have a $10,000 account and you're consistently losing $400 or $500, then you are exceeding what every single trader already out there knows, the ones that have survived for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. They all have rules that they follow, which is they don't trade or risk more than anywhere from 1 to 2.5% on a trade. And if you're willing to go $500 on a $10,000 account, that's 5%. And you're already exceeding what the best traders out there would recommend. And so as you're losing and pulling down from that initial high, you should be risking less until you get your skill and your discipline back under control. Now, I had mentioned a skill level system earlier. Now, what that means, again, you've got beginner, novice, intermediate, and advanced. As you build up in skill, you're allowed to risk more and more and more money. The reason for that is, yeah, you might see a small account. You might have like a $1,000 account, $10,000 account, even a $500 account. You don't want to go in and lose $200 on a $500 account on your first day. That's already 20% loss, you know? So we try and teach you, like, if you're starting out and you've only got $1,000 in the account, you should not be risking more than 0.5%. And you'll always trade the lower of these two brackets. So if you got $500 and you got a 0.5%, um, you're in the beginner tier, you're at 0.5, that means you're not allowed to risk more than $25. Well, what can you trade that you only lose $25? Well, if you're trading a stock, that means you're going to buy a stock at $100. And if it drops below $75, you're going to strongly consider selling it. But because it's a stock, you may not necessarily have to sell it for the $25 loss. You might just hold on to it. Now, if you're trading options, it's going to be a different story. If you buy an option that's worth $1, that's $100. And if it drops down, you buy one contract at $100 at $1, you turn around and that option drops to 75 cents. Well, you've lost $25 there. So you're already down that $25, which is your 0.5%. Well, now you need to strongly consider either letting it go or holding on to it. If you're going to hold on to it, that's going to be based off a lot of other stuff. And that'll be covered in the academy and in more detail. But just trying to stick with the dashboard here and not get lost in the amount of knowledge that's out there to share. So that covers your portfolio. Understand that each account that you have, I don't recommend having multiple accounts. I have these here for, you know, demo purposes, but you may have a good trader, good investor, if he's day trading, is going to have one account for day trading. Or if he's trading futures, he'll have an account for futures. And then he's going to have, or she, not discriminating, or she is going to have a long term investment account where, you know, each one of these accounts should be different strategies. You should not be trading multiple strategies within one account, within the same account, because you will rip your brain in half looking at one position you have and going, wow, that one's down 10%. That's too much. And you're panicking because it's supposed to be one strategy where you only lose 2.5%, but you may have another option or position, different position that you're holding. And in that position, you're down 10%. Well, if it's a long term hold for several months, you can survive a 10% drop, or a 10% drop may be acceptable part of that strategy. But if you see 10% down on one side and you're trying to trade options or day trade, being down 10% is going to subconsciously stress you out because you're seeing multiple strategies in front of you at one time. Um, so don't mix strategies within each account. Have different accounts for different strategies. Um, Next up is going to be your journal. This is where the real magic of the discipline score breaks out. Um, if you ever seen things like TradeZella, you put all your trades in and you mark them, follow them. So the 7 different scores that we measure on is prep discipline. How disciplined and how prepped are you every day? How well do you stick to your rules? How well do you stick to risk sizing? How well do you stick to your stop adherence? Loss control? How consistent are you? And do you interfere with your trades once you initiate them? Um, each one of these has a pop-up to teach you more about it. Um, you'll see the discipline radar score over here on the left. Down below, you're going to see some analytics for your trades. below is a charting of this. This is an overlay of your cumulative profit and loss in yellow or gold. Didn't want to do green and red because it'd be too stressful. But then you have your discipline score. So that way you can see as your discipline comes down, your profit and loss comes down. As your discipline increases, so does your actual profit and loss increase as well. So as you can see, the more I stick with my rules and the more consistent that I am, the more things will go up. And over here, I had an issue with importing the demo data to display. So unfortunately, the data over here is more straight and linear. Um, Scrolling down, moving on, you'll have the last few days your grade, and we'll get into what that grade means in a bit. You'll have breakdown over, what are you trading that you've had these profit and losses across different stocks or symbols. And then down below, this is your trade journal. So this is where you've got your trades, and over here is going to be debrief. You're going to see this button here where it says debrief with no color. Now, automatically, if you were prepped for the day, you automatically get a letter grade for that day. And what I mean by that is when you go to debrief, you got to answer these questions, and this is where honesty comes in, because you're only fighting and competing against yourself here. Did the price break the level clearly? So the rules here are following the break and retest strategy. Um, the questions can really modify if you have a different strategy you're following. But so starting with, did the price break above the level clearly? Yes, it did. Did the price fully retest back down to level before I entered? Maybe not. Did I wait for a confirmation at the retest? Meaning, once it pulled back, did I let it show me that it was actually going to sit there, or did I just rush into it? No, I rushed into it. But before I rushed into it, I had my stop defined. I'm not going to go below. My entry was $1, but I can see there's a level below at 0.75 that I'm not going to go below. So I mentally accepted I'm not going to go below 0.75. Yes, and it's going to ask me what was that level? Was it a price base or was it percentage? And you can put in 10%. This is within and it's going to tell you, it's going to let you know, you were within your day budget for that risk level. Planned risk was $3 on one share. You were definitely within it. So there's a lot of good information here. So you can find out whether or not, did you actually adhere to what you were doing and what you should have done and so forth. Um, did I honor my stop? If the price dropped too low and actually went below my stop loss, did I actually honor it? Yes, I did. Then down below, after you entered, did you move your stop wider to give the trade more room after you entered? Yeah, well, it's a red flag. Did I add to the position after it dropped? No. And in here, what would you do differently? Have more patience on the entry. So what's important about writing notes here is that the AI is able to take your notes, your questions above, and actually look at the market conditions around your trade and give you a good feedback on what you had done. So you'll save, and we'll see that I got, which one was it? This one? Edit. Get a B on it because I had one red and the rest were green. That debrief is going to help build the discipline score. raising it, lowering it, whatnot, based off of how you answer your debriefs. So from there, you now have your notes section. So I filled in, okay, it was the one with the C on it. Yeah, this one. My bad. All right. So now in the notes, I have more patience. If I have a whole bunch of debriefs that are filled out with notes, I can even go here and edit it. Like after I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Let me add a few more comments, so forth, save it, be done. I can hit AI feedback. It's going to take all the details about that trade, including my notes and my grade and my questions, and it's going to analyze that and it's going to come back and tell me, you know, some things. Your own note says it best. Your more patience on entry. A proper retest of the $33.06 previous day high breakout level would have given you a cleaner, higher conviction. So it's able to look at the market conditions around this trade and tell you how you could have been better, how you could have had a cleaner, higher conviction long with a tighter, more defensive stop. Because the more confidence you have on your entry, the smaller the less you need to have a bigger stop loss gap. From there, again, you got the leaderboard to see everybody and everyone going on. On the mentor page, you can see what mentors are available, and request that they be your mentor, meaning you have an actual human looking over your account to work with you, give you some feedback. But the AI is pretty good. It's built on the lessons, the break and retest strategy, as well as many hundreds of other documents and master trader information as well. Um, Next up on here is the ask. You can actually use the AI and talk back and forth, ask it questions, have it review your account, your rules, your trades, give you feedback. Um, Also on the side here, you have the rules for the entire system, the core rules. We also have the academy here. Um, each section has some very good core information. Like I said, there's core information, 18 chapters, 10 questions per chapter to fill out. And then the very bottom is the final exam, 70 questions, but you don't have to sit and do all of them at one time. And at any moment, you can reset your quiz info or even just retake the final exam and try and shoot for better, or just to review the questions. Last but not least, if you have in here in the settings page, you have push notifications. You can get the morning brief, the prep checklist notifications, the trades have been imported, get notified when new trades land in your journal. It's pulling automatically from the Snap Trade API. So once you close a trade on your broker, as soon as Snap Trade sees it, we can pull it in and sync it. And once it's synced, you can then go to your portfolio and debrief on it. You'll also be notified if you have debriefs that are pending. You can also be notified of session changes, and then you can mark which days of the week below you want to be notified for session changes. So whether pre-market at 4 a.m., opening range at 9:30, prime window. What we mean by prime window is that the opening range between 9:30 and 10 is usually very hectic, very volatile, chaotic, and the institutions have the AIs that move very fast and can handle those trade speeds. As you get better, you may become more comfortable in day trading in the first 30 minutes of the market open. Otherwise, best time to trade is between 10 to roughly 11:30, and in the afternoons from about 2:30 into 4 o'clock. And again, you can select which one of these you get notified on based on what day of the week. Sunday nights, overnight begins at 8 o'clock. Technically, futures open at 6. I guess that's one I could add in here. But with that, there's also a feedback. If you'd like to provide comments for a bug or make a request for a feature, this would be the place to do it. And last but not least, you can actually visit this website, dashboard.datmoney, and you can install this or save this on your home screen as an icon, and then it will look like an application. Once you do that, you open it, sign back in. You can actually click on alerts here, and it will enable push notifications. And you've now turned that website into its own app on your phone that you can now get push notifications through, which is all of these notifications here on the settings page. And so with that, if you have any comments, feedback, or anything you want to share, we've got a Discord. Like I said, we've got the feedback here. Please feel free to, use either one. And as I said in the beginning, you're going to spend most of your day right here on the daily prep, waiting for your trades, getting your calculations for, which account. Like I was saying before, if you have a $15,000 account, but your drawdown is 66.7%, you're going to be in a preservation tier. And that means your risk is only going to be at preservation 1%. So you're only going to be allowed to risk 1% of your total portfolio. So if the portfolio is 15,000, you're only allowed to risk $150. That means every trade you take, you're going to put in your premium, you're going to set your stop loss and your target. And it's going to tell you how many contracts you can buy, so that way you can stay comfortably within that stop loss range of 150. That's why this page, this calculator, is going to be so handy in your trades, because a lot of times markets are moving fast. You ain't got time to do the mental gymnastics or calculating. Now we can do it for you. You know that you're going to be entering at roughly $1. You know, you're waiting for a break and retest. It broke above $1. It's going to pull back down to $1 and hover and then climb back up. Well, then that means the dollar is going to be your rough entry. 25% stop loss is 75 cents, 100% profit is $2. You already know that if it comes down to 75 cents, you're losing $125 that you're comfortable with because your max risk is 149. But if it goes up and it hits $2, which is what you identify as a level, you're going to make $500 on the whole thing. So your daily prep is where you're going to spend your day. It looks um, a lot more compact on a mobile device, depending on how you're trading, how your trade layout is. Maybe you got extra screens, so you put this on a full screen or half a screen next to you, or maybe it's on your phone and you're checking it next to you as you're looking at your broker. So with that, that's our layout. And again, if you have any feedback or whatnot, please use the feedback setting here, or message me on WAP, or find us on the Discord.